So I'm here to talk about the full moon that we have on the 12th of February at 24 degrees of Leo. And this is going to be a little bit different of a video than the ones that I've been recently doing. But I wanted to show you the chart of the moment of the full moon at the zero meridian of Greenwich, England. So what we can observe in this full moon is that we have the moon at 24 degrees of Leo, doing an opposition to the sun, which has to happen for a full moon to occur at 24 degrees of Aquarius. Now, today, 9th of February, which is the day when I'm recording, we have the conjunction of the sun and Mercury, which is what is called as cazimi, and it's the conjunction of any planet with the sun is called cazimi. And at this full moon, we'll still have Mercury conjunct the sun at 26 degrees of Aquarius. It's a very tight conjunction, but not only this is happening, we also have both the planets in Aquarius and the moon in Leo forming a T square with the planet Uranus, forming a 90-degree angle in the sign of Taurus. It's a very tight square. As you can see, these planets, the sun, the moon, are 24 degrees, and Uranus is at 23 degrees, only less than 1 degree apart from forming the full 90-degree angle. So this can be felt as maximum intensity. This can be felt as our ground being shaken. It can literally feel like an earthquake going on of sudden things that come into our lives that come and invite us to leave some of the comfort zones um, that we may be at. So it's important that we identify the areas in which these energies are moving in our birth charts. So, for example, here we see the moon is in Leo. So when you're looking at your own birth chart, you can see which of the houses these planets are falling in. For example, here we have the moon in the third house of this chart. We have the sun in the ninth house of this chart, and Uranus in the 11th house of this chart. And this is important because this is the areas that we will feel this influence the most. Let's take into consideration that a full moon is when all the light of the sun is going to the moon. So the subconscious that represents the moon is enlightened, is illuminated at this time. So there are things that we will be seeing that bring us important messages. And this may go around our own identity, our belief system, our views of the world around us with other people, relationships. These things can be heightened at this time. It can also be things around finances, work, technologies, as Uranus is in Taurus and it rules all of these things. In Taurus, it rules more of this like changes around work and finances and then Uranus as an archetype, it also rules things around aviation, around satellites, internet, network, um, freedom, revolution. All these things are tied to Uranus. So on a world level, of course, we'll be seeing a lot of that, but on an individual level, this may be this may be felt as a crisis, as moments of this con conjunctions of having to make decisions to to go for the change. So in this full moon, these information that will be clearly going into our minds, also because of the square between Uranus and Mercury, Mercury being in the sign of Uranus, squaring the ruler, is obviously an energy that is like a shot or a strike into the nervous system, something that comes and moves the foundations, the things that bring the security. And it's a moment of letting go. It's a moment of saying goodbye to the things that no longer serves and opening ourselves to the new, to the higher conscious actions and habits in our lives. Let's take into account that in every astrological event, when we bring it up at the exact time of the event, we have an ascendant, we have a rising energy, which represents the tone or the color of the event itself. And this is happening at 90 degrees of Cancer. If we see the planet Mars is at 17 degrees of Cancer retrograde, which is in a very tight conjunction, only 2 degrees apart from this. So this sense of wanting to keep ourselves in our contained environment, in our sort of like uterus energy or our egg shell energy, that is the space in which we feel safe, in which we feel, um, like we don't want to be bothered because I feel cozy, I feel comfortable, I feel safe here. But the planet Mars, which has to do with um, breaking, with it's sort of like a violent energy that comes and disrupts and brings us out of that comfortability, is there in Cancer, and it's the sign that is ruled by the moon. So these invitations for us to move from those comfortable spaces that we know are no longer serving our higher purpose is what this full moon is about. Full moon in Leo invites us to connect with our hearts and with our sense of security and our sense of being able to go into the world, to open up to the world. The fire sign that has to do with initiative, with great confidence, to expand, to do the things that we feel that we want to do from a sense of passion, from a sense of alignment with ourselves. It has to do with our identity and with our sense of I want this because I know who I am. But those things may also be in sort of a question mark or in a sense of like questioning ourselves also to see if that sense of I am this comes from a real place, from an authentic place, or it comes from an ego mask kind of place. So it's like these transitions that we may be feeling, or these tensions around our own egos and also other people's egos and the things that are going on around in our lives. It's the full moon where it's a disruption of the status quo, it's a disruption of the normal, it's a disruption of the things that were going on for a very long time, of traditions, of customs, or things that have been carried on for generations, and now it's the time to disrupt, just to question if that's the way in which we want to keep moving forward. And if we look at this chart, we have all the planets sort of contained in this opposition of retrograde Mars with Pluto in Aquarius. All of them are here contained in this opposition. And Mars and Pluto is like a volcano energy. It's like something has to arise, something has to come out, like a pressure that needs to now erupt. So we can we can feel this very deeply in our lives at this moment with this full moon, especially if you have angles or planets that are in fixed signs, also in the sign of Scorpio, like from 15 degrees of the fixed signs to 30 to the end of the fixed signs, you may feel this more intensely. And also if you have angles like the first house, the fourth house, the seventh house, or the 10th house at these degrees of the fixed signs as well. So because in this full moon and collectively for a while we're not having any earth energy aside from Uranus in Taurus, which is about moving the earth. We are also having the South Node in Virgo, which is about letting go of things of the earth. It's important that we still remain connected to our bodies. This because this sense of water and air that we have predominantly right now takes us away from the present, takes us away from the body, from the security that we feel when we are rooted to ourselves, and this sort of like disassociation or escapism may lead us into a downfall if we're not paying attention. It's important as well with Mars in retrograde in Cancer and the ascendant of this full moon in Cancer for the world, that we pay attention to the triggers that come in the external world, that trigger emotions that we did not want to see, that are repressed, like anger, rage, fury, or sadness, or impulsivity, or any emotion that comes that is very automatic, that is very ancestral, that is very like a pattern that has been in the family or anything like this. It's a moment to take a look at that, because it's exactly what this full moon is asking us to heal, with Mars also doing a tight square to Chiron, which is transiting the sign that is ruled by Mars. So this can be felt as that impulse or that automatism that comes out, and it creates some type of effect that hurts us, that wounds us if we're not paying attention. But if we're able to channel this energy from a conscious place, being aware of the others, registering their emotions and our emotions, and also being able to place healthy limits, also with this trine of Mars to Saturn, we can navigate these energies more from a conscious place, where we can transform the wounds, where we can heal the wounds, or take the wounds as a form of learning from ourselves and from the situation that we may be going through. We also have the support of the moon and the sun doing harmonic connections to Chiron. So it's a moment of healing, also with North Node conjunct Neptune and Aries Venus. So it's a moment of going to the healing, going to the wound to see what we need to heal in these times. That is also the key for us to make changes that are more aligned with what we want in our lives in this moment. So I hope that this information helps you and guides you in this time that we are at. It's definitely a year of revolution, of a lot of transitioning. Remember that we have the outer planets, the slowest planets of the solar system, shifting from one sign to the other. And this is something that collectively can be felt as a moment of closing cycles of transitions. And it's important to see what in our lives is asking for these transitions as well. So let's keep our connection to the heart alive, so that we can navigate these times as consciously as possible. Thank you. And I would love to hear from you how you're living these times and how you're feeling, or if you have any questions regarding the full moon. And have